Good evening, everybody. Will you guys take your seats? Get this meeting started. Good evening. This is the Board of Directors meeting. Today is Thursday, September 27th. I'd like to call this meeting to order and start with the pledge to the flag. Director Gould.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Metro Cable announcement. The open session meeting is videotaped for Cablecast on Metro Cable 14. Replay on Sunday, September 30th at 4 p.m. and Tuesday, October 2nd at 2 p.m. on Channel 14. Webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district's website at www.metrofire.ca.gov. This is the public's opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the district's jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Madam Speaker, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
Moving on to the consent item, are there any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I move the consent.
I'll second the consent.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please call roll?
Director Gale?
Yes.
Gould? Wood?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Sheets?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on to the reports. President's report. No, nothing to be reporting. Just happy to be here. Fire Chief's report. Chief Harms.
Good evening, directors. Just a few things. This past week, we released a set of videos out to the members about the Metro Way. The first set of videos was an introduction and a survey that we had done about the leadership and the management of the organization, and kind of a benchmark for us. And then the second one was a questions and answers. And kind of why we put them out was we had 3 sessions here at headquarters in which folks could come to, but there was just so many people that couldn't come, is that we wanted to put them out so that everybody could see them. And I think, did they send you, I'll make sure they send you guys all a link on that one. On September 16th, Captain J.D. McKenzie retired after 29 years of service from Station 29. We had a number of command and general staff meetings in the past 2 weeks. Myself and Chief Bridge went to Denver, Colorado. I have the primary seat, and Chief Bridge is my alternate to NFPA 1710, which is a staffing document. Every 5 years that is revised. We're on the final stage of the revision of that. In the June meeting of the NFPA, they'll finally pass that and move forward with it. We had the Sacramento Metro Firefighters Association retirement dinner on the 21st. Myself and Director Sheets was there. We had 11 retirees that were there. Each one of them told a story about their time at Metro Fire, and it was quite enjoyable on that. And I think they had over 100 and some odd people that also just attended to support them. A lot of retirees or folks that were getting ready to retire. I'll have to say there was not very many young people that were there, though. Over the last weekend on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd was the Capitol Air Show right here in our own backyard. We worked very closely with the airport, the sheriff's office, and fire together as a unified command. They did just an outstanding job. We were very well represented out there. I know a number of you directors were able to make it out there. It was a great crowd. But for me, I was really proud as I looked around at just how many Metro folks were there Saturday afternoon and on Sunday afternoon. With the temperatures that they were, there was just a number of people that were not doing well in the heat, and I think we ended up transporting a few people each day. Chief Bridge will talk more about it, but our members did a great job of shuffling people and making sure that they were okay. We had the California Fire Chiefs Conference is going on downtown Sacramento. It started on Tuesday night as a dinner and then runs the rest of this week, so we have been down there for a number of meetings and meeting some of our fellow fire chiefs from across the state. Tonight there's a swearing in at the Citrus Heights PD. for an assistant chief, Gina Anderson, and they have some new commanders in the police department, so we have some folks over there representing us. The last thing is on Saturday at 11:30 is the California Firefighters Memorial Ceremony downtown. It is also at the same time, unfortunately, of the funeral, so we've kind of split up across the district, and some of us will be attending the memorial, and some of us will be attending the funeral. That's all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
Are there any questions? All right, moving on to operations report. Chief Bridge.
Good evening, Directors. Eric Bridge, Deputy Chief Operations. Got a few things to report out to you as we're trending a little bit lower than we were this time last year with about 71,000 calls. I think we were up around 75,000 last year at this time. It's not really a significant drop, but it's I'm sure it'll be picking up again in the winter, so we usually generally pick up during the winter months. So I'll keep you posted on that. But we're typically around 3,500 to 4,000 calls between board meetings, and that's where we're at with this one as well. But I just want to take a moment to talk a little bit about what we've been doing. For example, like the air show was a busy weekend for our members. We had Engine 66, Engine 62, Engine 25, Hazmat 109, Medic 62, Medic 25. We're all out there as part of contingency planning and also part of community relations side of things. And I believe it was on Saturday for community CPR, or sidewalk CPR. We had that going. We had a display out there with our copter was out there, which had to take off on Sunday for a call, but for the most part was out there. It was a good PR for many of the citizens as well. Our CERT members were out there. Our bike medics were out there. The CERT members did a great job, but a really big job came from our logistics. That's the heavy lift at any special event that you have, is just the amount of work that they were doing. So my hat's off to Mark Siebert and the crew over at Logistics. We had many of our members that are part of the Type 3 incident management team that were heavily involved with the air show as well. And Chief Randy Hine had the command on Friday, and then Chief Tyler Wagaman was in command on Saturday and Sunday. So they did a fantastic job, and fortunately there was not anything tragic, and so the contingency plans remained that. And but we did have some people, though, as Chief Arms mentioned earlier. There was about 10 or 12 people a day on Saturday and Sunday where our bike medics and members were attending to. But fortunately, nothing significant. There were a few transports, but most of the people were treated and released at the air show. So aside from that, as Chief Arms mentioned about this weekend, so we'll have a presence, and Chief Wagaman's been working with the Sheriff's Department and Captain Barnes with in regards to the memorial. So we will have a good presence there, along with the Firefighters Memorial downtown. And then one last thing, too, our members are back from North Carolina. So they are all safe and sound, and happy to have them back and getting some rest. So that's all I have for a report, unless you have anything further for me.
Anything? Oh, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on to Firefighters Local 522, Mr. Jameson.
Good evening, directors, chief arms, staff. This might be one of the quickest meetings I've ever been to. Again, always fantastic to be here on a night and address everyone. Since the last meeting, I traveled to Colorado Springs, the Firefighter Memorial. We helped place Captain Tim Anderson of Sac County Airports on the wall and accompanied his family and supported his family. It's a fantastic event back there to see what they do for those families and the support they get, and to see Local 522 with members of all departments back there, our honor guard. And it's just something to really keep. It's a special time for those families. It really is. And to watch the pipes and drums and all that goes into it, it's a big event, but it's very small for each family that's there, and it's wonderful. Also, I did travel just got back from Philadelphia yesterday. My first love before I became the 522 vice president was with the Deferred Comp Committee. Once a year, we travel as a committee to an educational event. I know most of you are aware, but the committee doesn't turn over much, but the committee is appointed by the board, and we serve at the pleasure of the board, and you all kind of leave us to our own devices and know the job that we do. And it just reminded me, we've talked over and over again about the different stuff that Metro does well, and all the different divisions, like logistics was mentioned. I know in the admin we have great people, and on the line we have great people, but we go out in that deferred comp committee, and we are one of the better committees out there that travels and represents Metro Fire, to the point where now we're all wearing matching shirts every day, and we get these compliments. And I think you as directors would be proud to see what's represented out there for Metro Fire. And finally, last 2 weeks ago, we talked a lot about wellness and taking care of each other, and it was mentioned a lot about, how there was taxpayer dollars talked about, there was mental health, it was a good meeting, and we talked a lot about it. And for me, it just made me think, and I've had a lot of questions about the gentleman next to me, Nick Covington. But one of the things I said was taking care of each other. We do a much better job taking care of the public. And I think when we do that, the taxpayers get a lot of bang for their buck. And I'm going to let Nick Covington close out. And I know many of you know his story about getting hurt, and it was one of the first things I dealt with as a new vice president. I wasn't actually the vice president yet, but when Nick was hurt and airlifted to Sutter Roseville, it was great to see how we mobilized and help an individual that is a member of Metro Fire and 522. So I'm going to let him finish. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Covington on A shift, currently assigned to Engine 108. As anyone who gets seriously injured or ill, you've got enough to worry about with your own health. So just between the union, the fire chief, the board, and everybody, I was lucky that I didn't have to worry about my job or my family. So everyone really came together and took a huge load off my plate. So I was able to just focus on getting better. I was able to utilize resources like Dan McLean from Results and the catastrophic leave to just focus on healing. And I got back at least 3 months early, maybe more. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to Trevor, fire chief, for helping me get back here.
Thank you. Any comments? Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to committee and delegate reports. Executive committee has not met, and we do not have a meeting scheduled. Moving on to communications, JPA. Chief Bridge.
Yeah, report now for Chief Johnson. JPA has not met since the last meeting. They've had a couple of reschedules, so the next one is still to be determined.
All right, California Fire and Rescue Training, JPA. Chief Shannon.
Well, this is going to be longer than Chief Bridges. We met last week, September 20th, next across the hall. The fiscal year 18-19 budget was adopted, so we're moving forward with that. On the training side, they're doing really well over there. The first quarter of this fiscal year has outpaced the revenues for all of 17 and 18. So they're moving along. They're doing what was asked of them a while ago. I think the goal is approximately 80 classes this year moving forward. That'll be a big jump from what we've seen in the past. They're going to try some new classes that they haven't. Fireline medic and some instructor courses are going to be brand new for them. They're going to be pushing those out later on this year. And that CDCR contract, corrections rehabilitation I was talking about a few months back, has now been enacted. They're pushing that forward, and they're going to start communicating with those folks and getting classes scheduled, whatever classes they need coming up in this next year. So as you can see, a lot of movement going on with them, a lot of positive stuff, a lot of positive actions, and we're looking forward to seeing what's going to transpire in the next year. That's the end of the report. Next meeting is Thursday, January 17th.
Any questions? Okay. Moving on to Finance and Audit Committee, Director Kelly.
The Finance and Audit Committee. After the heavy lift of last meeting, approving the budget, they are all taking supplements and trying to rebuild those muscles for next time. Anyways, we've not met since last month, and we will meet again on the 25th, I believe, of October. Thank you.
All right, moving on to Policy Committee, Director Gould.
No report.
Okay. Before we go into closed session, I'm going to do board member questions and comments. But before we go into closed session, I recommend that we adjourn with a moment of silence. And I would like to remind all board members that we need to be in closed session for a quorum. Director Gale,
What's the question?
do you have any comments?
No.
Director Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just really quickly, I want to thank all of the men and women that were at the air show. It was really nice to be there and see all of the other folks that were there really show a lot of respect to our groups. And so the CERT team and everybody else that was involved, the men and women that showed up on those relatively warm September days, it was just really nice to see. So kudos to all of you and the administrative team that took care of that. It was first rate, top notch. A lot of comments relative to that. So I appreciate that. I want to also reach out to our president and let him know that we're thinking of him this evening. As we end this session, I think tonight we'll do it in honor of a colleague of his, but I know that our president has a heavy lift when these situations occur. And so I just want to let him know that anything that he needs, we're here to support him as well. As well as I'm glad to hear that we'll have a presence at the service for this young man, and I hope that anything that we can do for that agency we'll do, because oftentimes we figure out just how similar, despite the teasing, that we really are. We're really one team of public safety. We do different functions, but at the end of the day, we all have the same mindset. And so I'm crushed by what they must be going through today, and their families and everyone else that's involved. And so my heart felt condolences to them, and particularly to our president, who functions in both roles. I want to let him know that we love him and we're here to support him.
Thank you. Director Wood.
I'd just echo what Director Gould has eloquently said, and I'm just really excited to see firefighter Covington back on the job. When I saw him in the hospital, I couldn't believe he'd ever be walking again, and it's just amazing. He's out there climbing ladders and pulling hoses and helping everyone again. So congratulations to you, sir. Very inspirational. Thank you.
And Director Kelly.
I too would like to congratulate the young man. Other than that, I hope that, as Director Gould said, that our president's doing okay. And look forward to having a good weekend. And I hope everybody else has a safe weekend. Thank you.
All right, I'd also like to echo the sentiments of our board for the prayers, sending prayers for the funeral service, and then also for the firefighters' memorial service. I would like to welcome you back. I'm very, very fortunate to have met you before and excited to see where your career is going to go. And then congratulations to Mr. McKenzie on his retirement. And like I said before, I think we should adjourn for a moment of silence honoring Sacramento County Sheriff's Deputy Mark Stasuk, who was killed in the line of duty on September 17th. Thank you.
I don't believe that we have a quorum. Okay, great.
Good evening. Council Labra, will you go ahead and report out?
Yes, thank you, Director Sheets. The board met in closed session. First agenda item was to consider workers' compensation claims under 54956.9 of the Government Code. The first claim involved former employee Douglas Hine. The board voted to give authority to its third-party administrator to settle that workers' compensation claim. The second matter was involving employee Gary Klopfenstein, and the board also voted to give authority to its third-party administrator to effectuate a settlement of that claim. The second matter, conference with legal counsel, the board voted to give legal counsel authority to take legal action in a civil matter involving a former employee. Thank you, Director.
Thank you. The next board meeting is October 11th at 6 p.m. in these chambers. Meeting is adjourned.
Good job, Madam Chair.
Well done.
I got it on the record.